chosen ones. Someone is on their knees right now, begging for mercy. They're praying harder than they've ever prayed in their entire life. But here's what they don't want you to know. They were warned multiple times. A spiritual practitioner looked them dead in the eye and said, "Stop what you're doing or face consequences you cannot undo." And you know what they said? They laughed. They said, "Screw the warnings," and doubled down on their attack against you. Now the tower has fallen and death has knocked on their door. The universe doesn't negotiate with people who refuse to listen. Spirit doesn't give unlimited chances to those who weaponize darkness against the chosen. And tonight you're going to understand exactly what happened behind the scenes while you were minding your business, building your destiny. You're going to see why someone who tried to destroy you is now terrified of their own shadow. This isn't just karma, this is divine judgment, and there's no attorney who can get them out of this case. While you were sleeping peacefully, someone was wide awake plotting your downfall. They weren't just thinking negative thoughts about you, they went further than that. They gathered others, they formed a small circle. 3 people is all it takes for Spirit to recognize it as a coven. And they directed concentrated malicious energy straight at your life. They wanted to see you fail. They wanted to watch your divine union crumble before it even had a chance to manifest. They looked at your progress and it made them sick to their stomach. Your light was too bright, and instead of working on their own darkness, they decided to blow out your candle. But chosen one, you need to understand something fundamental about how this universe operates. You are protected by forces they cannot comprehend. Your assignments are heaven-ordained, your connections are divinely orchestrated, and when someone attacks what God is building, they don't just fight you, they fight the architect of your destiny. These people were warned by someone who could see into the spiritual realm. A practitioner told them point blank that what they were attempting would backfire catastrophically. The message was clear: walk away now or face permanent consequences. But pride is a hell of a drug. Jealousy makes people stupid, and desperation turns humans into reckless gamblers who bet everything on a hand they were never going to win. So they ignored the warning. They went ahead with their ritual work. They sent energy they had no business sending. They tried to manipulate outcomes that were sealed in the heavenly courts before they were even born. And now they're discovering what every person throughout history who attacked the chosen has discovered. You cannot curse what God has blessed. You cannot destroy what the universe has ordained. You cannot stop what is inevitable. The backfire has begun, and it's more severe than anything they imagined. What they sent out has returned to them multiplied. The energy they weaponized against you has circled back like a boomerang, traveling at light speed. And they feel it. Oh, they absolutely feel it. There's a heaviness in their chest that won't go away. There's a panic that wakes them up at 3 in the morning, drenched in sweat. There's a knowing deep in their soul that they crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. They messed with someone under divine protection, and now the protection itself has turned against them. Every spell they cast has reversed. Every intention they set has flipped. Every visualization they did of your downfall is now a preview of their own destruction. This is what happens when you play with spiritual forces you don't understand. This is the price of attacking the anointed. Someone in that group is experiencing loss right now, real, tangible, devastating loss. It might be a sudden illness that doctors can't quite explain. It might be financial collapse that seemingly came out of nowhere. It might be the dissolution of their own relationships while they were so busy trying to destroy yours. Or it might be actual physical death. The Tower card represents sudden upheaval, and the Death card represents permanent endings. When both show up together in the spiritual realm, it means something has been completely dismantled, something has been permanently removed, and for someone who refused to heed warnings that removal might be their own life force, they gambled with powers beyond their pay grade, and now they're paying a price they cannot afford. The universe doesn't play favorites, but it absolutely protects its chosen vessels. You were chosen for a reason. Your mission is critical. And anyone who tries to abort that mission faces the wrath of divine justice. But let's talk about what they were actually trying to stop. This wasn't random hatred. This was calculated jealousy. They saw something in your future that they wanted for themselves. You have a divine union coming, a partnership that will create generational wealth, a connection that will birth something so powerful it will help thousands of people. This union you're walking into isn't just romance. It's a spiritual merger of two souls who have work to do together on this planet. It's a collaboration that will shift the frequency of everyone who comes into contact with it. And your enemies knew this. They could sense it. They could feel your elevation approaching. And instead of celebrating your rise, they decided to sabotage it. They tried to make you walk away from your blessing. They attempted to create confusion in your mind about this divine offer you've been given. They wanted you to reject what heaven was presenting to you. They used manipulation. They worked with illusion. They tried to make you doubt yourself and your discernment. They wanted you to think you were making the wrong choice when you were actually making the only choice that aligned with your highest goal. But here's what they didn't count on. You're not easy to manipulate. You're not easily confused. You've been through too much. You've developed spiritual muscles they don't have. You can sense when something is off. You can feel when energy around you shifts from authentic to artificial. So while they were working overtime trying to cloud your vision, you were seeing right through it. While they were casting their little spells and doing their little rituals, you were protected by a shield they couldn't penetrate. Your angels were working overtime, your ancestors were running interference, and the universe itself was rerouting every attack they sent. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. Here's something critical you need to understand about their methods. They weren't just sending general negativity your way. They went after specific areas of your life with surgical precision. They targeted your finances because they knew money gives you options and freedom. They wanted to see you struggle. They wanted to watch you stress about bills and wonder where your next opportunity would come from. They tried to create delays in your income streams. They attempted to block the deals that were headed your way. They even worked to make people who owed you money conveniently forget or make excuses. This wasn't coincidence. This was coordinated spiritual assault on your material resources. They believed if they could keep you broke, they could keep you small. If they could control your finances, they could control your movements. But what they failed to realize is that your provision doesn't come from human hands. Your supply is connected to an infinite source that no ritual can block. They also went after your creative energy. If you're someone who creates content or builds things or expresses yourself through any medium, they tried to give you creative blocks. They wanted your mind to go blank. They wanted you to second-guess every idea. They wanted you to feel stuck and uninspired. Why? Because they knew your creativity is connected to your purpose. The things you create carry frequency. The work you put out into the world shifts consciousness, and they wanted to silence that voice. They wanted to dim that light. They tried to make you feel like you had nothing valuable to offer, like you should just quit and do something normal, something safe, something that wouldn't threaten their mediocre existence. But even in the moments when you felt blocked, something in you kept pushing. Something in you refused to give up. That was your divine assignment, fighting through their interference. Now let's talk about the really dark part. They tried to affect your physical body. Some of you experienced unexplained exhaustion during the period when they were working against you. You felt drained for no logical reason. You had headaches that wouldn't quit. Your sleep was disturbed by nightmares, or you couldn't sleep at all. Your body was literally processing the energetic attacks being sent your way. They wanted you weak. They wanted you too tired to pursue your dreams, too drained to show up for your destiny, too depleted to recognize your divine partner when they appeared. This is why some of you felt like you were moving through mud for a season. It wasn't depression, it wasn't burnout, it was spiritual warfare manifesting in your physical experience. But your body is resilient, your spirit is strong, and even when they tried to knock you down completely, you kept getting back up. There's also something that needs to be said about the emotional manipulation they attempted. They tried to make you feel unworthy of the love that's coming your way. They planted seeds of doubt about whether you deserved your divine union. They wanted you to believe you weren't good enough, smart enough, healed enough, whole enough. They tried to trigger your insecurities and resurrect your past mistakes. They wanted you looking backward at your failures instead of forward toward your future. This is classic dark work. Make the target doubt themselves so they self-sabotage. Make them feel so undeserving that they reject the blessing before it even arrives. But something in you knew better. Something in you recognized those thoughts weren't coming from your higher self. Those doubts weren't based in truth. That was enemy propaganda, trying to get you to disqualify yourself from the very thing you were born to receive. Now they're in panic mode. They're realizing their plan failed spectacularly. Not only did they not stop your union, but they've accelerated their own downfall. They can feel the walls closing in. They know something is coming for them. That's why they're praying now. That's why they're suddenly religious. That's why they're begging God for mercy after they showed you none. They're experiencing what's called spiritual paranoia. It's when you know you've done something so wrong that you constantly look over your shoulder, waiting for the consequences. They can't sleep properly. They can't relax. Every phone call makes them nervous. Every unexpected knock on the door sends them into fight or flight mode. They're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and the worst part for them is they know exactly why this is happening. They can't even pretend they're innocent victims. They know they brought this on themselves. Some of them are going back to the same practitioner who warned them. Can you imagine that? Going back to the person who told you not to do something after you've already done it and it's already backfired. They're asking for protection spells. They're trying to reverse what they started. They're looking for any spiritual loophole that will get them out of the mess they created. But here's the hard truth. Some things cannot be undone. Some lines once crossed cannot be uncrossed. Some karmic debts are so severe that only time and suffering can balance the scales. They tried to steal your destiny. They attempted to take what was meant for you and claim it as their own. That's not just jealousy, that's spiritual theft. And the penalty for stealing from the chosen is not something any human practitioner can negotiate away. Let me tell you what's happening to them right now. One of them is dealing with conflict within their own circle. The very people they collaborated with are now turning on each other. Blame is being thrown around. Fingers are being pointed. Someone is saying it was someone else's idea. They're fracturing from the inside out. This is what happens when a group comes together for darkness instead of light. There's no honor among spiritual thieves. When things go wrong, they don't support each other. They scatter like roaches when the light comes on. The energy that was supposed to bind them in their mission against you has now become the toxicity tearing them apart. They're arguing about who's responsible for the backfire. They're fighting about what to do next. And in their chaos, they're creating even more negative karma for themselves. There's also someone in that group who's experiencing deep regret. They're the one who probably got pulled into this against their better judgment. They were manipulated by someone more dominant. They were convinced that you deserved what they were planning. But now they see the truth. They see that you were innocent. They see that you were just minding your business, building your life. And they're sick about what they participated in. This person wants to reach out to you. They want to confess. They want to apologize. But they're scared. They don't know how you'll react. They don't know if you even know what happened. And honestly, their apology doesn't matter. You don't need their confession to move forward. You don't need their admission to be validated. The universe already confirmed everything you needed to know. What's even more revealing is that some of these people are now experiencing the exact things they tried to inflict on you. They wanted you to walk away from love. Now they're watching their own relationships crumble. They tried to create financial lack in your life. Now their bank accounts are hemorrhaging in ways they can't explain. They attempted to give you creative blocks. Now they're the ones feeling empty and uninspired. This is mirror karma. The universe is showing them exactly what they tried to do to you by making them live it themselves. And the irony is not lost on them. They know why this is happening. They can connect the dots, But knowing doesn't stop the consequences from unfolding. You can understand why you're being corrected and still have to endure the correction. Let's address something important about their current state. Some of them are dealing with what looks like depression, but it's actually spiritual consequence manifesting as emotional turmoil. They're drinking more than usual, trying to numb what they feel. They're overindulging in things that give temporary relief but create long-term damage. They can't find satisfaction in anything. Even when good things happen, they can't fully enjoy them because there's this dark cloud hanging over everything they do. That's the weight of karmic debt. That's what it feels like to carry the guilt of attacking someone under divine protection. Their soul knows what they did, even if their ego tries to deny it, and that internal conflict is tearing them apart from the inside. There's also this element of discovery happening. Your divine partner is finding out about things that were done behind the scenes. Communication is coming through, truth is surfacing, and they're realizing just how much effort was put into trying to keep you two apart. This is making them even more committed to the connection. Nothing bonds two people like surviving a spiritual attack together. Even if you weren't consciously aware of the battle your spirits were fighting side by side, your angels were coordinating with their angels. Your ancestors were working with their ancestors. This union has been protected at levels you can't even see, and now that the smoke is clearing, you're both discovering just how powerful your connection really is. But here's what's really interesting. The ringleader of this attack is dealing with something even more severe. This person is the one who initiated the whole thing. They brought everyone together. They convinced the others to participate. They led the charge against you. And now they're experiencing consequences that are visible to everyone around them. Their life is falling apart in real time. Things that were stable are now shaking. Relationships that seemed solid are dissolving. Opportunities that were guaranteed are vanishing, and they can't hide it. Everyone in their life is watching them crumble and wondering what happened. Some people are asking questions, others are keeping their distance because they can feel that something is off about this person's energy. This is public humiliation on a spiritual level. The universe isn't just correcting them privately, it's making an example out of them so others will think twice before coming after the chosen. This ringleader has a specific energy about them, cold, calculating, narcissistic. They operated from a place of pure ego and arrogance. They thought they were untouchable. They believed their power was greater than divine order. They moved with carelessness because they'd gotten away with things before. This wasn't their first time trying to manipulate outcomes through dark means. But this time was different. This time they targeted someone who belongs to the universe, and the correction they're receiving is proportional to their audacity. The bigger the ego, the harder the fall. They wanted to win at all costs. Now they're losing everything that mattered. Their health might be declining, their peace is definitely gone, and the control they once had over their own life has evaporated. They're being humbled in the most devastating way possible. Here's something else that's unfolding. Truth is coming to light about deceptions that were told, lies that were spread, manipulations that were orchestrated. Things that were hidden are now being exposed. The universe has a way of revealing what was done in darkness, and these people are terrified of what might come out. They're scared that others will discover who they really are beneath the mask. They're worried that their reputation will be destroyed by their own actions. This fear is justified because when you operate in darkness, eventually the light finds you, and everything you tried to hide gets displayed for all to see. That exposure is part of their judgment. There's something you need to understand about divine protection. It's not passive. It's not just a gentle shield that deflects negativity. When you're on a mission for the Most High, the protection around you is active and aggressive. It doesn't just block attacks, it returns them with interest. It doesn't just defend you, it goes on offense against your attackers. This is why people who come against the chosen often experience rapid, devastating consequences. They're not just dealing with karma, they're dealing with the active protection system around someone who has heaven's backing. Your enemies didn't just pick a fight with you, they picked a fight with everything that stands behind you. They challenged forces that have been protecting you since before you were born, and those forces don't lose. Let's talk about what you need to do with this information. First, you need to recognize that you're healing from something that was done to you. Even if you weren't consciously aware of the attack, your spirit felt it. There might have been a period where things felt heavier than usual, where you felt blocked for no logical reason, where you experienced unusual resistance in areas that should have been flowing. That wasn't random, that was interference. But that season is over. The interference has been removed, the blocks have been cleared, and now you're moving into a period of unprecedented acceleration. Everything they tried to delay is about to happen faster than you expected. Everything they tried to stop is about to manifest with explosive force. Second, you need to release any residual anger or confusion about what happened. You don't need to carry that weight anymore. The universe has handled it. Justice has been served. Your enemies are dealing with consequences you don't even need to know the details about. Your job is to keep moving forward, keep building, keep trusting your path, keep following your intuition. The best revenge is not revenge at all. It's becoming so successful and so blessed that your enemies realize they wasted their time and energy trying to stop something that was always going to happen. Let them watch from a distance as you step into everything they tried to prevent. Let them see you thriving with the exact person they tried to separate you from. Let them witness the wealth and success they tried to block flowing into your life like a river. Third, understand that this experience has activated something in you. You're not the same person you were before this attack. You've been refined by the resistance. You've been strengthened by the spiritual warfare. You now operate at a frequency that's even harder for enemies to access. You've learned lessons about protection and discernment that will serve you for the rest of your life. You can now sense manipulation from a mile away. You can feel when someone's energy is off before they even speak. You've developed a spiritual radar that keeps you safe in rooms full of smiling enemies. This wasn't just an attack, this was an initiation, and you've passed. Your divine union is protected now more than ever. The person you're meant to be with is also covered by the same divine shield. No weapon formed against your connection will prosper. No scheme designed to separate you will succeed. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. That's not just a wedding vow, that's a spiritual law. Your union has purpose, it has assignment, it has heaven's approval, and anyone who tries to interfere with it will face the same fate as those who already tried. This partnership you're stepping into will produce more than just personal happiness. It's going to birth businesses, it's going to create opportunities for others, it's going to generate wealth that will fund missions and feed families. Your enemies tried to stop all of that because they only saw the surface. They saw romance and got jealous. But the universe saw destiny and sent protection. Think about the audacity of trying to steal someone's destiny. That's essentially what they attempted. They looked at your life and thought they could take your place. They thought they could redirect what was meant for you and channel it to themselves. They believed they could substitute themselves into the story that was written specifically for you. That's not just jealousy, that's delusion, that's spiritual insanity, and the universe doesn't tolerate that level of interference with divine plans. They wanted your energy signature, they wanted your anointing, they wanted your assignment, but those things aren't transferable. You can't steal what someone is. You can only be jealous of it from a distance, and that jealousy is exactly what's eating them alive right now. Here's what makes this even more twisted. They saw you in a position of visibility and influence, and instead of being inspired by your success, they were threatened by it. They watched you winning, and it made them feel like they were losing. Your light didn't motivate them to find their own. It made them want to extinguish yours. This is the mark of someone who operates from scarcity instead of abundance. They don't understand that there's enough for everyone. They think your success takes something away from them. So they tried to dim your shine, hoping it would make theirs brighter. But that's not how light works. When you try to put out someone else's flame, you just end up in darkness yourself. What particularly sinister is they went after your purpose work specifically, the things you're meant to do in this world, the mission you're here to accomplish. They tried to create obstacles in the path of your divine assignment. They interfered with opportunities that were meant to connect you with the right people. They tried to delay projects that were supposed to launch. They attempted to make you doubt whether you were even on the right path. They wanted you questioning your calling, second-guessing your gifts, wondering if you were delusional about your purpose. But here's the truth. You can delay purpose, but you cannot destroy it. You can create temporary blocks, but you cannot permanently stop what God has ordained. Your assignment is written in the stars, and no human manipulation can erase what heaven has authored. There's also this reality that they tried to control your decisions. They wanted to manipulate the choices you were making about your future. They saw you at a crossroads and they tried to push you toward the path that would benefit them or keep you small. They didn't want you choosing the bigger vision. They didn't want you selecting the option that would elevate you. So they worked behind the scenes trying to influence your thinking, trying to make certain options look more appealing while making your true path look risky or foolish. But something in you resisted that manipulation. Your intuition was louder than their interference. Your inner knowing was stronger than their illusions. And you chose correctly despite everything they were doing to sway you in the wrong direction. There's also this energy of them having made some kind of sacrifice to try to make their plan work. They gave something up, believing they would get your destiny in return. They made financial investments in their dark work. They sacrificed their own peace. They gave up relationships or opportunities because they were so consumed with plotting against you. Some of them even used innocent people in their schemes, children's energy or belongings, photographs of people who had nothing to do with this conflict. They were willing to do anything to see you fall, and now they're looking at everything they gave up and realizing it was all for nothing. They traded real things for a fantasy. They gambled with things they can't get back for a Warujin outcome and that was never going to happen. That's the tragedy of envy. It makes you sacrifice your present for a future that isn't yours. The financial aspect of what they did cannot be overlooked. They made investments with practitioners and spiritual workers. They paid money thinking they were purchasing your downfall. They spent resources on rituals and ceremonies designed to block your blessings. Some of them might have paid significant amounts, believing that the more they spent, the more effective the work would be. But all they did was waste money on something that was never going to work. You cannot purchase power over someone who has divine protection. You cannot buy spells strong enough to override heaven's plan. They threw their money away chasing a result that was impossible from the start, and now they're dealing with financial consequences on top of everything else. The money they spent trying to curse you could have been used to build their own life, but they were so obsessed with your destruction, they neglected their own construction. Now let me put you onto something real, Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app, it's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. Now they're in a position where they have to face what they've done. They can't run from it. They can't hide from it. They're being forced to confront the reality that they attacked an innocent person and involved others in their darkness. Some of them are in counseling or therapy, trying to process the guilt. Others are turning to religion, hoping confession will erase their debt. But spiritual consequences don't work like earthly forgiveness. You can be forgiven by God and still have to endure the karmic balance. You can repent and still face the natural outcomes of your actions. The universe operates on laws that even sincere remorse cannot immediately override. There's a process, there's a season, and they're in it right now, whether they like it or not. The people who attacked you are learning a lesson that others before them have learned. You don't touch the anointed. You don't mess with the chosen. You don't attack people who have assignments. Because when you do, you're not just dealing with a person. You're dealing with the entire spiritual army backing that person. You're taking on angels and ancestors and divine forces that don't sleep and don't forget. The universe keeps perfect records. And when someone crosses the line with one of its chosen vessels, the response is swift and absolute. Your enemies are experiencing that response right now, and their prayers for mercy are falling on ears that remember every tear they caused you to cry. So, chosen one, as you move forward into this next chapter, remember who you are. Remember what you carry. Remember that your life is not your own. You belong to a higher purpose. You're part of a bigger plan, and that plan includes a divine union that will shift generations. That plan includes wealth that will fund kingdom work. That plan includes influence that will inspire thousands. No coven can stop it. No ritual can block it. No amount of jealousy can derail it. You're not just protected, you're unstoppable. And anyone who tried to stop you is now dealing with the consequences of fighting against destiny itself. Walk forward with your head high, love hard when your person arrives, build fearlessly with your divine partner, create generously from the abundance that's coming, and let your success be the loudest testimony to everyone who doubted you. They wanted to see you fall, instead they're watching you fly. They wanted to see you broken, instead they're witnessing you whole. They wanted to see you alone, instead they're watching you unite with your divine counterpart. And somewhere in the background of your beautiful life, they're still praying for mercy that won't come, because they refused to show mercy when it mattered. That's not your problem anymore. That's between them and the universe. Your job is to live fully, thrive completely, and become everything you were always meant to be. The war is over, chosen one, and you've already won.